everyone. Welcome to another classic episode of Epic Failure TV1. This is your host and moderator, Tyrillus TV here. We are doing an interview with the one, the only, Mr. Brian Slade, who is on the line here. And let's get this interview started. Mr. Brian Slade, aka B Slade.
Yes.
The questions that I have for you are definitely directed to music. As a person who's been following you from the Tone era, what made you transcend to the Brian Slade era?
I think it was just a natural evolution, really. I mean, if you think about it, I had already maximized everything that could happen within that particular genre. Every award that you could win within that, I had already garnered and worked really hard. And I mean, I came in with the odds against me. So to start at the bottom and finally, zenith, I have no interest whatsoever in repeating, any previous success. Of course, you don't retire ever from your calling or from your birth or divine call, but it had to transcend into something that was more global because I had already maximized everything that could happen there, and I have no intentions or desires to repeat myself. I need another challenge, and I wanted to be more global in my outreach. And I think it's more than just a name. It represents liberation and freedom, and unfortunately, as much success as that name has had, speaking of Tone, it was also very limiting, and people had a lot of assumptions about what that means or what they've heard of the sensationalism surrounding it, and the type of music and videos and visual art that I wanted to create. You can kind of see that it tried to come out in spurts, but that particular genre of consumers were only going to allow for so much to happen, and I knew that my time was up. So there's so much more I have yet to do. So right around Fail You, if you look at that video, you can see many elements of Brian Slade already starting to come to fruition. So it's not that I detest or loathe anything that the Tone era did, because it's a very important era, and I still integrate songs, as you know, Tori, into some Brian Slade sets, but only making it exclusive for one group of people with a certain set of belief structures who be limiting what God has given me to do globally. And B Slade represents international rock star icon, whatever it's just big, it's fabulous, and that's what I'm all about.
Exactly. And the next question I want to ask is, as a watcher of you, I can pick up on certain artists that I don't like to use the word emulate, but you are influenced by. I feel a little Prince. I feel a little Janet.
Yes.
I feel a little Michael, because without Janet, you have to have Michael next to her.
Right.
If you want to go in jazz, you got a little Ella Fitzgerald.
Yes.
A little Phyllis Hyman, if you want to go there. My list is deep.
I'm glad you said her name. I'm so glad, because she's, to me, completely underrated. I'm so glad you mentioned Phyllis's name. Thank you.
Yeah.
For that means that catalog. I appreciate that.
No problem. Yeah. I'm a big fan of Phyllis Hyman. I have a lot of her stuff. And I just feel that those are the influences on my behalf. It's more. The list can go on forever, because your voice transcends genres. So with that being said, who do you feel are your main three influences?
Oh, I would say speaking specifically musically right now. Musically, right?
Musically, yes. Musically.
It would have to be Walter Hawkins first.
Oh, yes.
And I haven't even opened up that drawer to grieve that properly yet, because I was still coming off of so many other things, but I'm still very much not okay with that. Daryl Coley.
Okay.
And I would have to go ahead and say, of course, Janet Jackson, even more so than Michael. Even though there's a lot of performance elements that, of course, influenced Janet just from being around her brothers or her siblings, there's still another area to me of street credibility that Janet always incorporated into her choreography. She would always incorporate whatever was hot at the time some kind of way to tie us into the more street credibility. For example, in Scream, you know, in the breakdown, Michael does his normal pop locking in the breakdown, but Janet does, you know, The Creep by TLC, which was hot at the time. She always was, you know, whatever was hot at the time, she knew how to incorporate it. And that's why I really gravitated more towards her, because she evolved and reinvented herself. But those three, Walter, Daryl Coley, Walter because of his crazy arrangements and melody, Daryl because of his vocal choices, and his breathing ability. A lot of people don't know about his breathing technique. And when I was very young, he was able to give me some pointers about breathing, and that's really where all your vocal prowess, if you have any, it all stems from the diaphragm and the breathing and how it's in through the nose and out through the mouth. And taking those lessons and cultivating them, and then formulating my own vocal workout regimen, that's how I was able to get to the place now that I'm at. But just let it be known, Tori, I'm not satisfied. I'm going into another realm of vocals, and I'm just now starting that training. So I'm really interested in seeing what else I'm able to do as far as interpretation. But Daryl Coley single-handedly influenced the majority of male vocalists, whether they know it or not. Even if it's vicariously through me, it's because of Daryl, and Daryl was discovered by Walter. So it all stems back to Walter, really.
Exactly. As we can tell, this video is going to be a two-parter because this is getting good. But that's how, I mean, you know, music today is not the same how it used to be. I don't like using the word back in the day, but I want to use a time frame, the 90s, the 80s, where you had singers who sang, not sing, but sang. And yes, you know, like that's why I mentioned Phyllis Hyman. Phyllis Hyman was a person who can emulate a song and make you feel the tears and the passion and the tenacity of what she was going through at the time. You know, she was a phenomenal vocalist, and if she was still around to this day, a lot of people wouldn't be on the map, I think.
No, I really don't think that, and this is just my own opinion, it's completely IMO, but I really feel like Clive Davis wasn't able to encapsulate the fullness of who she was. It was really her struggle and pain that made her so ingenious, and I never thought that she got the right vehicle for that type of vocal engine. I feel the same way about Patti LaBelle. It's just like, it's like no one is like giving her, you know, the right vehicle to house that type of a Maserati of a voice. And when you try to give a Maserati a Hyundai track, she's not going to be able to fully show you what I have yet to see a song built for that type of voice. So I can't wait for the opportunity to work with Patti, because I know what she can sink her teeth into. It's just that the producers of today really just don't know how to make a track custom for that artist. They just, whoever the hot producer is at the time, they just assume because their sound is a signature that applies to each and every artist that comes, especially the artists from the past. And you have to do your homework before you even think about stepping into a studio to press record. You should have already studied that artist's backlog and catalog before you even think about approaching them in the studio. I don't care how hot you are or if you're the producer of the month. If you don't know that artist's catalog, then, you know, it really is a disservice to who you're working with, because that's what we are as producers. We are directors of these actors who are legendary, and therefore I need to study their film, their work, to know how to work around who they are.
Exactly. Exactly. As we have like 5 minutes left in this video already, you have definitely deepened the thought process of what artists need to think of today. Young City J, go ahead and ask your set of questions that you have.
I'm sorry that my answers are so verbose, so you may need 2 parts, but I want to make sure we're thorough. So
yes, I understand. I'd rather have a 3-4-parter than a 1-parter. You know, I want us to make sure that everybody gets their questions answered and have a deep answer of how you feel. You know, this is an interview with you. You know, you never know when the next time you'll be available. So we want to make sure that our viewers get the one-on-one with Brian. So, Young City J, go ahead.
Right. Brian Slade, I absolutely love your voice. I'm actually a new fan of yours. And I just had a question about, because I know you named a lot of artists that you looked up to, you were influenced by, but I'm not sure, but are there any new artists or new mainstream artists or artists currently out there that you actually listen to on a regular basis?
Yes, they need to call me Brian Minaj because I am the biggest Nicki Minaj fan in the world. I love everything about her boldness, her business sense. I love Gaga, of course, just because she's also an intelligent thinker. And I love a young lady named Yazra. I'm very moved by her work. And there's another young man, I think it's Jesse Boykins III. You may not have heard of him, but he's on Centric quite a bit now, and he has a song called Amorous, and that really caught my attention. And last but not least, it would be Kimberly Nicole. These are the artists that right now are the only ones that really tickle my fancy, because you have to be bold, you have to be unapologetic, and you have to have audacity. And if you're not audacious, then I'm just like, you know, you're not fabulous. You must be audacious.
Right. And my next question is, I've seen a couple of your outfits and your style. I would say, what can you describe as your own personal style? The way you dress, you know, your approach when you're performing. What do you describe your style as?
It really depends on how the planets are lined up for me. I mean, honestly, I do my best to stay futuristic, and sometimes being futuristic is actually throwing back. So I would say it's Bowie, David Bowie influence with an overlay of Grace Jones, and probably Yves Saint Laurent cuts and lines circa 1953 through 1967. Anything in that era really works for me, and if I can take what the past thought the future would look like, that's usually what I lean more towards. I'm a 70s aficionado because I just thought that people really did go all the way out with the outfits, particularly like LaBelle or Cher or once again Bowie. So I try to do things that will not only captivate the audience, but will also inspire them to take pieces from several elements they may like to formulate their own. We're all influenced by somebody. It's what we do with that influence to make it our own that's most important. So that's what I try to do.
Agree with that. Definitely. Look, y'all, we will definitely be back with part 2 of the one-on-one with Brian Slade interview. Y'all stay tuned.